This is the last video for pronouns. We're going to be looking at the last four kinds, which are less important, I guess. And so we've talked about personal, demonstrative, indefinite, and relative. So we have just a few more to go. We'll cover it quickly here. Number 5 is the interrogative pronoun, interrogating, asking questions, right? So when you ask questions, we're going to use words like who or which of you. And these are used as pronouns. This is your subject for the will go. Who will go with me to whatever. All right. Let's see. Which of you? Of you, prepositional phrase. Without taking thought. This is kind of just parenthetical additional information. Of course, prepositional phrase as well. So we can kind of ignore all that. Who can add to his stature 1 cubit. So we have subject here, let's see, verb here, like that. So the interrogative pronoun is functioning as the subject of the sentence. And that doesn't always have to be the case, because you can start a sentence with, say, whom shall I award, or, which shall I buy? In that case, I'm doing the buying, and it's the thing which that I'm going to buy. So that's in the objective case. So that's not always going to be the subject of the sentence when you use the interrogative pronoun. Words like the other question words like when and where are not going to be called interrogative pronouns, because they're not pronouns. When tells you about a time, and it's not. It's more of an adverb. It's not a pronoun. All right, so let's move on to number 6, numerical pronouns. And numerical tells you we're talking about numbers. And so we are doing what? Definitely cites a number, either a cardinal number. Cardinal number means when you're counting 1, 2, 3, just mentioning the number. I guess the ordinal number is when you're counting which one it is, the order of things, and that's your first, second, third, etc. Either way, these numbers can be used as pronouns. Okay, they are pronouns when they take the place of an understood noun. Well, let's look at the sentence. The opposing team cut him off, and one of them tackled him. And this one means one person in the other team, right? And you can say 2 of them tackled him, 10 of them tackled him, whatever the case may be. That number itself acts as a pronoun because it's referring to certain things or certain objects. 7. Reflexive and intensive pronoun. Okay, generally we're going to call these reflexive pronouns. That's generally what it's called, I think. Formed by adding self or selves to the personal pronouns. So this is a myself, yourself, himself, herself, and so on. Let's see. The reflexive pronoun is used as object, referring to the same person as the object. So we're talking about sentences like this, where the subject is doing an action back to himself, so that's the object, but the subject does the action back to the same person as the subject, but it has to be the object in the sentence. So we can't say he loves he, okay, because that would be too subjective case when you actually need an object. We couldn't say he loves him, because that sounds like we're talking about 2 different people there. So to show that we're talking about one person, we would use that reflexive case of the pronoun. The intensive pronoun is used simply to emphasize. That's your keyword. It intensifies in the sense that it's emphasizing who did it. The people themselves sinned. They sinned themselves. Okay, so in this case, the themselves is not an object of the sinning. We are still saying the same thing. They themselves sinned. So we're emphasizing them. The sentence, I often use is, I myself built this house, maybe. All right, it's a big deal if you built the house by yourself. And so you want to emphasize you did it yourself, and so you stick it right there. You don't need any commas or anything. So here in the book, we have an explanation of, I guess, the pronoun. It sounds like it's 2 different pronouns, In many other books, they'll just call it the reflexive pronoun and tell you that there are only two proper uses of the reflexive pronoun, the myself, yourself form, and that is, number one, it can be reflexive, or number two, it can be intensive. And that's what we looked at right here, the reflexive case and this intensive case. Okay. The intensive pronoun is a positive with the noun or pronoun to which it refers. So if it's I, myself here, since the I is in the nominative case, myself here is in the nominative case. But if this was in the back of the sentence and we were talking about the object, and the reflexive or the intensive pronoun went along with an object, then they would both be in the objective case. Finally, we're on the last one, reciprocal pronouns. So, special case, it represents two or more persons or things interactive, interchanging the action denoted by the verb. And so we're talking about doing something to each other or one another. Okay, so those are the words we're talking about. The rule that we usually teach to students is this, mentioned in the note here. Some excessively careful people use each other when two people are involved and one another when more than two. But the distinction is generally disregarded even by meticulous writers. Okay, and I probably belong to this school of excessively careful people, possibly because I have to be so conscious of these rules for tests. And when you look at American English grammar books too, I believe this is still emphasized, the distinction between each other and one another. And to my recollection, I think the SAT questions have dealt with that issue, where each other is for two people, okay, two persons acting on each other, and one another for three or more people. That's like the distinction between the word between and among. Between is for only two persons, among is for many, okay, more, three or more, right? And so that is something you should remember. I know for certain that if you pick up English books in foreign countries for learning English, that they would emphasize this as a proper usage, that each other is for two and one another is for three or more. I think English speaking people, Americans and the British, may not be so picky about those particular rules, because it doesn't make much difference either way you say it. Everybody's going to understand you. But for learning proper grammar, let's follow that rule. We're done with the pronouns now. The book we're following is English Made Simple by Arthur Waldhorn.